Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, what are people saying here in the chat? Reminder, David Marr says, innocent until proven guilty is a rule of evidence that places the burden of proof on the prosecution to prove their case beyond all reasonable doubts. It applies in the court of law, not in the court of public opinion. Yes, says Judy. It's not a rule of evidence, but I get what you're saying. Okay. You made a point. Yes. So, okay. So I just tweeted out, people want to join, they will join, but I have a presentation to get through. And again, this is going to be recorded and put up probably forever. So, I'm really the whole, okay, I'll do the disclaimer first. I'm not a lawyer. Nothing I'd say, I don't know anything more than maybe I don't know what law enforcement knows, and I don't know what the people that are involved directly in this crime know. And I'm just going off things that I see in the media and just sort of reading through documents and watching trials and speaking to people in a collaborative way about the Dan Markel case. And also, I've lived in Tallahasse, so there's a bit of a hometown murder connection to this for me. So very much know that town and have just been following it since 2016, where I just happened to be in Tallahasse when arrests were made. And it piqued my interest then, and I've just been following it ever since. So what I want to do is really, like David pointed out, it's, we don't, this is just my commentary. I don't plan on stating anything as a fact I don't know as a fact. I wasn't there for a lot of these events, but I do think it's a case of mass public interest, and I do believe there's enough people that feel as interested as me in this case and want to talk about it, and so I'm just providing an avenue to do that. So that is my preamble. Again, commentary. So I thought a good place to start was the police report that Detective Isom filled out, and it kind of I picked out the things that were the most interesting to me, and I want to discuss them. And a lot of it just sets a baseline set of facts of what law enforcement knew and how they found out in their own words in the police report. And it does put to rest some things that I see in the YouTube comments. Where if you had read this document, you wouldn't see people going back and forth and debating and making an assumption. Much to David Marr's point, I don't really, if something came out, a lot of people, I think Wendi is involved, is my opinion, was involved in the plot. I don't know how involved she got, but that's my opinion just from seeing things. But if something came out tomorrow that exonerated her, I would take that on, full swing, because I don't know the truth. And so I just wanted to state that I do try to stay open, because again, these aren't my family members. This doesn't involve me personally. I just truly am looking at it from, I don't know if it's an intellectual standpoint, but just trying to get to the truth. So I made this little presentation here. So here's the first slide. And I just wanted to read this and maybe just let this sink in a little bit. And maybe we can discuss it in the chat, each slide. But I do have, I think, 20 slides that I need to get through. So I'm going to be moving through with some pace. So here is what Craig Isom wrote in his police report about arriving at the scene and about Wendi driving up. So this was on 7/18 as the date of the report. The incident occurred in the garage portion of the victim's residence. The victim appears to have been sitting in the driver's seat of his car when the attack occurred. EMS was removing the victim from the vehicle just as I approached the scene. The victim's head was bangled, and there was a significant amount of blood coming from the area of his head. I noticed some blood in the driver's seat and on the ground next to the car. I also saw the driver's side window was shattered and that there was glass on the ground and inside the vehicle. Finally, I noticed half of a pair of glasses on the ground next to the driver's side of the vehicle. Immediately after EMS removed the victim from the scene, Sergeant Sims, Investigator Bradshaw, and I checked the residence to ensure that there was no one else in distress within the home. We did not locate anyone inside. Investigators and forensic units were then summoned to the scene to take over the investigation. I then spoke with the complainant and obtained an account of what he observed. See witness account below for further information. Officer Thompson and I then established the crime scene and began canvassing the neighborhood for potential witnesses. I checked the following homes, but no one appeared to be home at these locations. There's a lot of addresses. See supplemental report, Officer Thompson, for further information regarding involvement in this case, as well as the crime scene log. It also should be noted that while in the northeast perimeter of the crime scene, I saw a dark red Honda van approaching from the northeast. The van appeared to be a mid to late 2000 model, and I believe it was just after 12 p.m. when I noticed it. I did not see the occupants, and I was unable to get a tag number. I had seen, however, the victim's ex-wife drives a red 2007 model Honda van. So I guess that's the guy that testified at the trial, as both trials, about seeing Wendi drive up to the crime scene tape. So they knew pretty quickly about Wendi and about their situation, I guess, from Geiger, who told them about the divorce, that Dan was in a terrible divorce when the police arrived at the scene. Yep, Officer Bannon. So there's that. I mean, that's just facts. So that was what was written in the police report about Wendi driving up to the van, and there's a picture of her minivan. Next slide. This is interesting because I know Tallahasse, and it looks like I think maybe David here, or he's a lawyer at UF. But anyway, this is the route. I know this. I mean, I drove these streets, as in my youth. Cigarette hanging out the side of the window. A little rebel. But I know these streets really well, and I know this path, and that is the Trescott is a shortcut. But if you look here, towards the bottom of this diagram here, and you see these two lines, so you'll see this is like Thomasville is the line that's going up on the left, and that's Centerville, the one that's going out almost like the other shape of the V toward Awkward Ridge. And so if you look here, you see where the Trescott is, which is like the shorter with the little red with the yellow flag. That's that goes to Dan's house. And then here is Benton, which is one with the white flag, which is the other sort of where the V meets. And Trescott has got so many speed bumps, but it is a shortcut because that little, at the very last, the bottom part, that is a hill, and it connects those two major roads. So it can get so, from my experience, from what I remember, that gets very congested. You can get caught at that light coming down that hill for a very long time. So the way the shortcut worked is you would go that way, it would bring you to the bottom of the hill, and then you kind of like beg to get out, to turn out, and you could bypass all of that traffic that backs up on Benton. Because right there on Centerville, there's a hospital, Tallahasse Memorial Hospital, probably where Dan had been taken. And so there's a lot of hospital traffic, coming from that hospital, Tallahasse Memorial Hospital. I got a spinal tap at Tallahasse Memorial Hospital. So I just know this area very well. That it's a very unusual route. And for her not to, another thing is, for her, in my view, it's just all opinions. I don't know if she had a little, like a key card. That's why she had to go to ABC. We have BevMo out here. Or, if you live in New York, you have a Dwayne Reed card. You get all the discounts when you have like a membership. Maybe she had a membership to ABC Liquor, and that's why she didn't go to Publix or she didn't go to Market Square. I mean, I'm trying to stay reasonable here, putting in the situation. But that is way out of the way. No way is that a shortcut. There's just, if Tallahasse is very small, and to make that move, that's a significant move. That's enough out of your way I don't know. I wouldn't do it. So it's unusual that she would go to that liquor store, but I don't know why she did it. And then she said it was the first one that popped up when she was asked about it. And there's no way that she would need to put a liquor store in her GPS. So that just must have, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she meant her head, because having lived in Tallahasse, I mean, if she lived there, and she lived there for like 7 years, that's the north side of a small town. You know where the liquor stores are. Okay, I'm gonna look here, see if I missed anything. You mean she denied going up to it says, why did she deny doing that? I know she mentioned that during the interrogation, but I believe in the first trial she denied it, or am I confused? No, that you're right. she did say she did not drive. She did not turn on Trescott here. What she claimed at the first trial is that she stayed on Centerville, it's the line that's to the right of the V, the right side of the V. And she's saying she did not turn on that street to go to that yellow flag. So the main road, so Centerville is here, is Aqua Ridge is off Centerville. So if you look at it, it's like a V, the right side of the V, that's Centerville. And the left side of the V here going up is Thomasville. So Centerville, and at the end of Centerville, if you were to keep going down Centerville from Aqua Ridge and keep going down, 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 you eventually, that's like where the hospital area is. And Thomasville is a main drag, and it basically just has strip malls off it. So that's why I'm saying, like, you know where the liquor stores are, and there's not that many. So for her, that's a very intentional move. And for her to say she didn't turn down Trescott, so she didn't, when she's going down that right side of the V, and she's saying she didn't turn on the little road with the yellow flag, that's a big mistake. That's a long way, and it's very windy. And she's saying she didn't. And then I think at the second time, she kind of cleared it up real quickly. But that was, I mean, I don't know. Anyone that's here from Tallahasse will know that that's a weird move. Okay, here's the Best Buy, the DayCare situation. This will clear up some stuff. So I'm going to read this. This is on the report. On 7/18/2014, around 1 p.m., Sergeant Johnson and myself and investigator Pappy to respond to the area of the FSU College of Law and attempt to locate a vehicle registered to Wendi Adelson, a 2007 Honda van. We checked the College of Law buildings from Jefferson Street to Bruneau Street to Macomb Street to Jefferson Street, but did not locate the vehicle. We notified Sergeant Johnson that the vehicle was not there, and then assigned us to respond to the Creative Learning Daycare at West Tharp Street to check the welfare of Benjamin and Lincoln Markel. Then I made contact with Susan Brooks. Brooks advised that both children were at the daycare and had been dropped off by their father, Dan Markel, at approximately 8:50 a.m. She advised that today there was also his day to pick up the children as well. Brooks stated that she was aware that there was a legal battle between Markel and Adelson. After notifying Sergeant Johnson, we waited at the daycare to ensure the children's safety of the safety of the children. And other investigators made contact with Adelson. We were released from that assignment and responded back to TPD. While at TPD, we were tasked with making contact with a Best Buy service repairman who had been reportedly to Adelson's residence this morning. At 3:12 p.m., we went to Best Buy at 1400 Appalachia Parkway and spoke with Robert Schwartz. Schwartz advised that he had been to Adelson's residence at 3303 Aqua Ridge Way between 8:20 and 9:15 a.m. Schwartz stated that he had called one of the phone numbers on his repair ticket, thinking that it was Adelson's phone number. Schwartz advised a male voice answered the phone and advised him that he needed to call blah, blah, blah to reach Adelson. Schwartz then called Adelson at 8:07 a.m. and advised her that he was on his way. That he was en route to her residence. He advised that he had left the store at approximately 8:13 a.m. That's very specific. Schwartz stated that he arrived somewhere around 8:20 a.m. There was a crack in her television screen, and he informed her that it was not covered by warranty. Her facial expression indicated to him that she was upset, saddened. Schwartz stated that she advised him that the television was a gift from her brother. Schwartz noted that she was texting someone and believed it to be her brother regarding the damage to the television. Schwartz advised that he had not seen anyone else at the residence while he was there. He advised that there were no cars in the driveway. Schwartz completed a sworn written statement. Okay, so there's the Best Buy. Yeah, you finally found the chat. Hi. All right, next slide. So there's the Best Buy account. Okay, here's a long one. Here's about the guy who was speaking to Dan when he was shot. On 7/18/14, I conducted a recorded interview with Slazer. I think I'm saying that right. At TPD. Slazer provided the following information. Slazer advised that he's a music teacher at the School of Arts and Sciences. Slazer said on Wednesday, 7/16/14, he received a text from his friend Linford, who is a law professor at FSU. Slazer said said the text asked if he would contact his colleague, victim, and give him his take of the School of Arts and Sciences since he works there. Slazer says he agrees to contact the victim, and Linford texted him the victim's contact information. Slazer said that on the date of the incident, he texted the victim at 9:56 a.m. and introduced himself as a friend of Linford's. Slazer said that he told the victim he would be happy to answer any questions he had about the School of Arts and Sciences and to call anytime. Slazer said that at 10:36 a.m., he received a return text from the victim saying, "Thanks. What is your name? I'll try you shortly." Slazer sends a follow-up text to the victim providing his name. Slazer said at 10:48 a.m. he received a phone call from the victim concerning the School of Arts and Sciences. Slazer said it sounded like the victim was on a speakerphone in his car driving as they were talking. Slazer said the victim mentioned he did not know that his ex-wife had enrolled the children in the school or even put them in the drawing to be selected for the school. Slazer said the victim advised once he found out that his ex-wife had enrolled the kids that he went to the school and spoke to the assistant principal. Slazer said the victim advised he wanted another person's perspective on the school other than the assistant principal who was just trying to get his kids enrolled. Slazer said that as he continued to talk, it sounded like the victim had come to a stop in his vehicle. Extra noise was no longer there. And then he said, "Hold on a second. There's someone in my driveway that's unfamiliar to me." Slazer says he could not be certain, but was pretty sure that those were the words the victim used. Slazer said he continued to wait on the phone, but the victim never returned or said anything. Slazer says that Slazer said he remembered 3 events that occurred after the victim told him to hold on. First, he heard a loud sound, like a grunt, and said it sounded like a person made a sound, but it didn't sound like a good sound. Second, he heard a muffled sounds, and then it appeared to be voices, but he couldn't make out the words. Third, he heard heavy, labored breathing that didn't sound good, and he thought the victim may be having a heart attack or something. Slazer then he started asking, "Are you okay?" several times, but did not get. That's where I left, but he didn't get an answer. Okay, I'm going to look at comments and see what people are saying about that. People are saying hi. Hi, Liz. I was listening on the Patreon app. LOL, Maureen. Yeah, me too. I didn't even know you could or how it interacts with the chat. So this is a bit of a learning experience for me as well. Thanks for your patience. Listening closely to see if Wendi was advised of the safety of the boys before recording at the station started. Yeah, that's what everyone asked. There's someone that jumped on the chat with me and Judy once that said that she is a friend of the officers. I mean, but this is, anyone could say this. Obviously, this is not proof. It's just something that happened, and said that they were friends with one of the officers, and they can confirm that Wendi did not inquire about the safety of the boys. But yes, I do not know that, and that is not anywhere in the report, sort of confirming at this point Wendi, was advised of the safety of her boys. I really don't know if it happened in the car. That is a mystery to me as well. Hi, Stella Bella. Okay. Let's go to the next things. We have a lot of these to get through. I thought this was really interesting because everybody talks about, that schedule. Well, here it is. Yes, I remember that person saying the police had not told her first that the kids were okay. Yeah, but that's all I have to go on in terms of what I've seen about that, if it, Wendi acted suspiciously in that way. I just don't know. But here, this is interesting. At 2 p.m., meeting Sergeant Johnson asked me to call the daycare where the Markel children had been enrolled and ascertain the drop-off pickoff schedule, the time leading up to this incident. I contacted the daycare by phone and spoke to Keith Leland. He provided the following information for the week of the incident. What's also really interesting about this, when you read this police report, is that you pick up that name. You see things that people are listed as witnesses, maybe not the most important witnesses, but it starts to put the pieces together a little bit. So so Dan was supposed to pick up the kids on that day that he was murdered, and he was supposed to take them to the pool, or he wanted to because he was going out of town. And I remember that Wendi said in her interrogation that she said that she was talking to Charlie that morning also about, because Dan wanted to pick them up, and there was she said our last interaction wasn't good, and it's because of this instance, because Wendi wanted to pick them up, but Dan wanted to take them to the pool. And she said that he said, they got in a little tiff about that over picking them up, but it was his time to pick them up, and he wanted to take them to the pool. And Wendi said that she had told Charlie that when they were talking on the phone in the morning, and she said Charlie had advised her just to let their dad do that, and just to kind of let it go and back off that fight, which I thought was interesting. And it just goes to show the how much extra information Wendi was providing that day. Slazer is now band director at a school in Oregon. Good. No worries for being late. Can always watch this again. Hi. I'm curious about the TV guys. Yeah, I just read it. Yeah, but I mean, gosh, imagine just being in your... How many lives has this murder touched? Imagine that guy now has a story for the rest of his life. He was just working for the Geek Squad, probably doing the most boring, thought he was going to have the most boring day ever. And he actually goes and is potentially, allegedly, an alibi for this horrible, infamous murder. It's crazy. Just a Best Buy guy. And now he's thrust into all of this. Okay. So this is going back to Slazer. Slazer, so see, he immediately called back, but it went straight to voicemail. Slazer's phone showed a time of 11 a.m. when he called back. So if he called right back, then that means that the murder happened right at 11. Slazer said that he then sent a text message at 11:01 asking, "Are you okay?" But he never received a response. Slazer said it appeared that the victim had just arrived home based on their conversation, and he went into the Leon County property appraiser's website and looked up the victim's address. Slazer proceeded to call the 911 and informed by dispatch that they were already aware of the incident at this location and officers were en route. After calling 911 at 11:09, Slazer called Linford and told him that he thought something had happened to his friend victim due to the labored breathing he heard. I confirmed all the call and text times and text message consistent with listed above on Slazer's phone. On 7/20/2014, I completed the following task. I attended the memorial service at 4858 Cary Forest Parkway for the victim. During the service, I made contact with a subject by the name of Alex Greenberg. So these are the people, their names are already out there. They went on 2020, I believe. And there were the couple that were giving their account and were very close to Dan Markel around the time of his death. I made the subject of the name Alex Greenberg. Greenberg had spoken during the service and advised that he was likely, that he was like family with the victim. Investigator Isom and I conducted a recorded interview with Alex and his wife Maya at TPD on 7/23/14. Alex and Maya have a contact number of blank. I went through the downloaded information on Wendi Adelson's ex-wife's desktop computer and had been processed by TPD technical support members. Possible matters of interest were numerous. Google Chrome keyword searches that Wendi had conducted on the victim's new girlfriend, Amy Adler, Amy's ex-husband, and Amy's brother. Wendi had also performed searches for several porn sites, include teacher-student porn. So yeah, that was a breakdown of what the police wrote up, what they found. Okay, I was provided with copies of Wendi Adelson's email accounts and reviewed them, in part at the request of investigator Isom. I viewed her email account set up for an online dating site and her Gmail account from all that was captured of 2012 through July through September 2013 and April through June of 2014. I relay all the pertinent findings to investigator Isom. An overall assessment of the emails was that Wendi and Dan's post-marital relationship was very adversarial and very impersonal. They were both concerned about the children, and this was the basis for most communications. Wendi vented her frustrations to her friends and her mother about the hardship in dealing with Markel and the divorce custody issues. It was clear that she wanted to move to South Florida to be closer to family. Okay. Friends. I spoke to one of the victim's close friends by phone, Joshua Berman, which was first met when they attended law school together. Berman currently lives in New York and advised that he saw the victim earlier in the month at 7:10:14 when the victim was in New York visiting his victim girlfriend, Amy. During the conversation, Berman stressed the fact that the victim did not get along with Wendy's parents and they felt they were instigators in his divorce. Berman also advised the victim had confided to him that Wendi had hid money in different accounts prior to the divorce and failed to disclose financial records to the courts. Berman said that he knew the victim was about to file sanctions against Wendi that would have adverse effects on her job and or get her disbarred or have her lead to the or would have found her to lie during the divorce proceedings. Berman has said the following contact numbers, blah, 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 blah. Oops. Investigator Eisen conducted a recorded interview at TPD with Alex and Maya Greenberg, who were close friends of the victim, and the Greenbergs advised the victim was caught off guard when Wendi told him she wanted a divorce. The Greenbergs acknowledged that they had the victim's perspective of the divorce, but advised Wendi appeared to be unreasonable, vindictive, and downright mean during the divorce. And the Greenbergs said initially the victims were allowed Wendi to get away with what she wanted, but then once the relocation conflict about the kids, Wendi wanted to move down south. The victim's mindset changed and he started pushing back. Alex said that he talked to the victim by phone the Tuesday before he was killed. Alex said the victim told him that he had good stuff to tell him and a lot going on. The victim said he mentioned his girlfriend Amy in New York, and that they had had a breakthrough. Alex said that he thought the victim was referring to the fact that initially the victim did not want the relationship to get out, but it sounded like they were going to start to be opening up about it. Alex said the victim also appeared happy about the case he was working on in New York. Alex said it was probably good for the victim, both ego-wise and financially. The Greenbergs said the victims confided in them that Wendi had perjured herself during their divorce proceedings. They said the victim told him that Wendi did not disclose certain financial records under oath. The victim said that he was going to file sanctions against Wendi and her lawyer. The Greenbergs said if Wendi was found guilty, that she could be potentially disbarred. The Greenbergs said that it was from their understanding Wendy's lawyer also had potential for getting in trouble with her profession over sanctions being filed and quit as Wendy's attorney. Alex also advised that Amy told him the victim had either filed sanctions or was supposed to have filed the sanctions on Thursday, the day before he was killed. Wendi was looking up that porn. I thought that I'd heard somewhere that it was found on Katie's device. Interesting. No, they'd always had that. That came out. This has been a detail that's been out for a while. I don't know how it got in there, why it's relevant, but it's always been there and it's been discussed. Wendy's actually very similar to Charlie. It's funny you make that point, Judy, because there's several things that are similar. They retell jokes apparently. Jeffrey Lacasse said that, Wendi repeats her jokes in the stand, I think last time. And, it's Charlie is known for repeating himself and repeating the same jokes, the TV hitman being the most obvious one amongst many others. And you hear it on the wiretaps. So it's a very different facade, but, it's under Wendy's, it admits that they're very close, and pretty much since adulthood and childhood, she was closer to her other brother, Robert, but it is only in, later in life that she's close to Charlie. Yeah, it was found on Wendy's laptop. Wendi did not inquire about the boys. 1, when she drove up to the tape, she could clearly see her home from the tape. 2, during the ride with Ice in the station. 3, after she heard Lisa Carey's voice. Yeah. I really would like to know too. I'm very curious about that. And I would love to figure that out. Mail saying there's a shooting on Truscott. 4 after Isom. Okay. 4 after Isom Ford had been shot. Former husband. Yep. Yeah, it would be great to know when. In the end, Dan was right when he told her that everyone thinks she's such a nice person, but he and only a class knows how bad of a person she is. He did say that. If she didn't call the daycare to check on the boys, that's really weird. Yeah, David, a lot of people feel that way. Yep, says Judy. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so this is someone I've just tried to move their name as much as possible, but this is very telling, and this is a friend coming forward. And this friend tells police on July 1st, 2014, I spoke to blank Chin, who called the tip line to set up in this case. Chin stated that he and Markel are friends and last spoke in July 16th for approximately an hour and a half. Chin recalled them speaking about several topics throughout the conversation. First, he remembered talking about how things were going with his current girlfriend, Amy Adler. Markel stated he was happy in that relationship. He later spoke about the legal consulting with the Rabbi case in New Jersey. Markel stated that he was excited about this case and he was looking to do more consulting work in the future. They spoke about finances, and Markel stated that he was feeling good about his finances. Chin also remembered talking about the litigation issues with Wendi. Chin explained that Markel got a phone call from a charter school telling him that his son was accepted, only that Markel had no idea his son was eligible or even seeking acceptance into this school. He had figured Wendi went behind his back and enrolled their son into the school without telling Markel, and that concerned him. Markel explained further that he wanted to control Wendi's bad behavior through his upcoming litigation. He explained that during a deposition in their divorce proceedings, Wendi promised to return a Holocaust ring that belonged to Markel's family, but had kept it and still hadn't returned it even after their divorce was final. Additionally, Wendi failed to list a retirement account she owned worth over $50,000 and apparently lied about its existence in the deposition. Also, Wendi's lawyer at the time knew about the retirement account as well and allowed Wendi to withhold mentioning it in the depo. Markel explained to Chin that he didn't care about this half of the retirement account. He only wanted to show Wendi that she couldn't get away with it. He referenced Wendi's adherence to their agreed-upon parenting plan and Skype usage, and she was violating, and this is what Markel wanted to emphasize in his planned litigation. According to Chin, also a lawyer, Wendi and her lawyer knowingly withholding information at deposition can result in disbarment. And apparently, I think Wendi still has that Holocaust ring. Never even returned it, even after his death. So forget returning it. And I think she said in a depo that she would return it. So she kind of said she would, but then she turned around, then didn't, and then he's upset about it. And then even after his death, won't return it so they can keep it in the family. I don't know. What would you do? I'm sorry, that's my coffee going off. Okay. Wendi's friend lunch date. On the refrigerator was tackled schedule at Premier Gym's exercise class. I was advised that Markel was dressed as if he were at the gym, so I relayed the gym schedule to Sergeant Johnson and requested that an investigator go to the gym and see if Markel had gone there prior to returning home. After returning to the station, I was tasked with locating Silberman. By this point in the investigation, Wendi was located having lunch and brought to the station for questioning. Silberman was one of the two women that were there with Silberman during the lunch and were present when the investigators contacted her. Later, Silberman had called and left a voice message on Adelson's phone stating that she knew who was behind this and that the thought of it turned her stomach. Silberman was located at her residence and agreed to come into the police station for an interview. Silberman was directed to CID interview room 2, and the interview was recorded. Silberman was sworn in and signed an oath of perjury form. Silberman was asked about her meaning behind the voicemail message, and she denied calling Wendi and leaving that message. She showed me her phone and pulled up the call log. There was a call that matched the records of Wendi's phone where she received a call from Silberman. The call was outgoing for about 1 minute and 16 seconds. She claimed that must have been a butt dial and that the message was of hers and others talking in her car talking about what happened. I later contacted investigator Rodriguez, who was downloading information from Wendi's cellular phone. She provided me with a recording of Silberman's message to play for her. Upon playing that message, which was clear and unequivocal that Silberman was calling and addressing Wendi by name, making the aforementioned statements, Silberman again denied leaving the message. I pressed her further, and upon replaying the message, stated that she did not leave the message and that it was not the context concerning the murder. Silberman stated that when the investigators came to lunch and essentially took Wendi away, she immediately thought the police presence were concerning the custody arrangement being litigated between her and Markel. Upon thinking she'd figured Markel had filed something to warrant police attention, that it turned her stomach. Silberman reiterated that she had no idea who would want to kill Markel or harm him or anything helpful in this investigation. Silberman was later transported back to her residence. So this is a doctor in town, friend of Wendy's. One of the ones, she was with two doctors. One was a psychiatrist, I think she mentioned, was a child psychiatrist. And I think this one is, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but a cancer doctor. I can't remember the technical word. And a psychiatrist. So if I'm reading this correctly, this person called and said, I know who's behind it, left Wendi a message. And Wendi plays it and says, did you hear that, to the victim advocate? Like, people thought Dan did something to me. And so she calls and she left a message saying she knew who was behind this, and it turned her stomach. And then she's brought in to say, like, what did you mean by that? Do you have information about this murder? We're still trying. Yeah, thank you, oncologist. Yes. And then she lied, and then they played the message for her and said it was a butt dial, and it was unequivocal. He said, like, here, he says it was, which was upon playing the message, which was clear and unequivocal that Silberman was calling and addressing Wendi by name and making the aforementioned statements. Silberman again denied leaving the message. I pressed her further, and she signed like an oath of perjury form. I mean, this is in the middle of an investigation. So I don't know. Everyone, like, you know, a doctor, a lawyer, a priest, you know, everyone's got these, like, I don't know. Why do that? Why not just be, I don't know, unless there's some confusion I don't understand. This is very weird. This reads very weird behavior to me. Here's something, life insurance. On 7/31/14, I received a copy of Markel's life insurance policy through TIA Craft and supplying the company with a signed subpoena. The policy obtained by Markel in 2012 shows his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, as the primary beneficiary with a payout of $2 million. On this same date, I received a copy of Markel's Capital City Bank checking account spanning 1 year after supplying the financial institution with a signed subpoena. I received 2 surveillance videos of Markel making his transaction in the lobby on 7/16/2014. So there's them finding at the end of the month about the life insurance, and Wendi was the beneficiary. And it's just funny. You got to think about her back in the stand. When they asked her how much the life insurance was, and she said $1 million. Oh, $1 million for each child, just constantly downpaying, constantly distancing herself, in my opinion. Everyone's, again, you know, I could hear something tomorrow that exonerates Wendi. It's not like I'm stating for a fact I know that she's in on it and did it for these reasons. I really don't know. This is a weird one that I pulled from the report. Alarm the day before. So in Wendi's interrogation, she talks about being at, I even forgot the name of it, but it's something in downtown Tallahasse. I remember Railroad Square. It's some like, First Fridays. And she's, I think, there a day or two before the night before the murder. And she talks about this alarm thing happening when they're asking her if there's anything suspicious. And she talks about how she's still on the account for the alarm for their house on Trescott. And she mentioned there was an alarm and a friend was called. But anyway, so I guess this is the police report that's about that. On 7/18/14, the Tallahasse Police Department responded to an incident at 2016 Trescott Drive, to an incident which would later be deemed a homicide investigation. Sergeant Ann Johnson would later task me with a follow-up investigation as it related to an alarm sign on the property from Cushing Security Group and another place card at the residence that read Custom System Group. I called the telephone number that was listed on the sign and learned that the number with the sign was disconnected. And then I called the number on the play card and spoke to an unknown female who advised me the number for the alarm company is blank. I called the number and spoke with an individual who identified himself as Pat Cushing. According to Mr. Cushing, the alarm system for the listed residence did not have any video surveillance or any audio surveillance capabilities. He went to tell me that it was just a standard alarm. I asked Mr. Cushing if the alarm had been activated recently, and he advised me that he would have to call the main office and call me back. He called me back a short time later and told me the alarm was activated on 7/17/14 with an indication zone of one entry door. At 8:43 a.m., alarm company called Wendi Adelson and left a voicemail. They dispatched the Tallahasse Police Department. After this, they called Dan Markel and left a message. After this, the alarm company called Lynn Grossman. While talking to her, TPD called and requested a key holder to be en route. According to Cushing, Markel called back and canceled alarm activation at 8:52 a.m. Cushing later provided the alarm system worked off a cellular network and that could indicate that there was not a landline associated with the listed address. He stated that Markel's cellular contact number was blank. Later in the day, I looked into Wendi Edelson's telephone records. So anyway, this goes on, but that's just very interesting. It's in the police report. Alarm goes off the morning before. Everyone gets called. And it's weird because it sounds like maybe the alarm doesn't go off all the time if Wendy's still listed and her friend as emergencies. So it's just weird that would trigger the morning before. Maybe nothing. Okay, a lot of people at the very beginning when this all broke out, a lot of people thought that somehow Dan's murder was involved or tied to this case that he took on in New York. So I'll read a little bit about what they found out about that. Through the investigation, it was learned that the Markel recently hired on a consultant in a case taking place in New Jersey. This case involved rabbis who were arrested for kidnapping and extortion. They were accused of extorting money from Jewish wives who were seeking a spiritual divorce, a get from their husbands. The rabbi would take payment and then kidnap the husbands and physically beat them and provided them until they provided a get to their wives. In the Jewish faith, a woman without a get is not allowed to remarry and receive other benefits. Only a rabbi can facilitate this. Markel was hired by Rabbi Walmut, one of the rabbis accused of this. I later spoke to Jacob, a lawyer for the Walmart case. Kaplan stated that Walmart hired Markel after getting his name as a consultant. Walmart does not know Markel, only hired him after asking about the law community. I later spoke to Timothy Flannery, the arresting FBI agent in the Rabbi Walmut case. Flannery stated that although there is violence in the kidnapping and physical abuse, the rabbis and their henchmen, explained as hired former Israeli army soldiers, were not so violent as to commit murder. He explained that these rabbis were not suspected in any murders to their knowledge and did not feel that Markel's death was related. The agent checked and did not find that Markel's name came up in this case in any transcripts related to the rabbi's case. So this is pretty much what he did, Isom did, or one of the investigators did to put this rabbi theory as being one of the reasons Dan was murdered out. And it's also just another interesting, many people probably know this, is that the reason that Matt Shear kind of started even looking at the Dan Markel case is because he was looking into this case. And someone told him, well, these kind of connected in this weird way because someone was murdered, a lawyer was murdered that was consulting on that case. So I think Wonderly ended up doing something about it's called the Prod Father that related to this case that Dan was working on. But this is how they pretty much ruled out that this was not a viable reason that Dan got murdered. Fancy fiction. Yes, it was such a big case here in New Jersey. I believe it was Lakewood, New Jersey, which is South Jersey. It's an Orthodox community. Yep. I lived in New York for over a decade. So not far from where I was from. The volume was a bit higher. Okay, I can move the microphone closer. Let's see if that works. Okay. The Ashford Club. So Ashford Club was it's a apartment complex that's right across. It's situated right behind where Dan Markel's house was, and there's a little ditch that separates it, a little gully, and between the neighborhood and Thomasville, where this apartment complex is. So it's called the Ashford Club. On July 29, 2014, I fielded a call from a hotline from Park. Mrs. Park advised us that she lives at the Ashford Club Apartments located at 2055 Thomasville Road, apartment, whatever. This apartment complex is to the immediate west of Markel's house. The property is actually separated by a stormwater runoff ravine. On Wednesday, prior to Markel's death, she saw two younger white males, possibly in their early 20s, park a silver Prius and get out. They parked near a building, which is also next to a small community park area for residents of the complex. It is not unusual for people to park and walk through. However, Park had never seen them before and noticed they walked directly to the trail that leads up to Hermitage Drive. Park was watching from her second-story balcony. She stated the males were wearing conservative-type clothes and not typical for their age. About 10 minutes later, Park stated the same two white males returned. However, she noticed that they were both soaking wet, at least from the waist down. The shorter of the two was carrying an object that she didn't notice the first time she saw them. They returned to the Prius and left the area. She heard them talking, but she could not tell what was said. Park advised this was around about 10 a.m. in the morning, and it felt odd since Markel was killed around the same time of morning 2 days later. Great. I walked down the path that the two white males were taking. It's a recreational path that is regularly, albeit not often, leads to the park's complex to the north all the way to the city at Hermitage and Thomasville Road. However, specifically, the path parallels a deep ravine that runs directly behind Dan Markel's house. From a path, there is an unobstructed view of the back of the house. There are some bushes along the fence that offer minimal cover, but there could be no light source available at night. In the ravine, there was running water, but not very deep. It got deeper as it traveled north to the larger lake. I did not see any noticeable disturbances on either bank of the ravine. It would not be difficult to traverse the ravine and jump into Markel's backyard. Also, from this vantage, it would be accessible to see when he came and left the residence. Park stated that she did not get a good look at the younger white males, but was positive they were young. She stated the first one was tall and slender, wearing a white cap, white shirt, beige pants, and was the driver of the Prius. The second one was a shorter, black hair, black shorts, light-colored short, and medium build. So I don't even know what that means. I just think it's interesting. It could be, there's a big murder in town and someone saw something and maybe misremembered it. I don't, who knows what this means. And it's not brought up a lot, but it's just, it's definitely something that caught my eye in the police report. Okay, here's the big one. Here's the pickle reveal. I teased this on social media. Okay. So these are people that came forward on the tip line with knowledge about the Adelsons. Let me make sure that I have these in order. Yeah, okay. I later spoke to Steve, who called the tip line with information relevant to this investigation. Steve provided background information on Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother. According to Steve, Charlie is very manipulative, conniving, and capable of murder or murder for hire. Charlie has made a life of getting even with people, but in a very stealthy manner that leaves little trace back to him. Steve later provided information that Charlie paid 2 Fort Lauderdale police officers to fake evict someone from their own business. Charlie also owns guns, to include a short black revolver. Steve has seen Charlie possess this gun on prior occasions. I later spoke to Steve again, who explained that it was him who had been evicted by the paid-off police officers. He explained that Charlie had bought into Steve's business, a deli restaurant, and they were business partners. At one point, the idea for a second restaurant came about, and they opened it up. At some point after this, Charlie came to Steve and asked him to sign some paperwork. Steve agreed, but stated after he read it first. Charlie became defensive about this and argued with Steve about trust. Steve never signed the paperwork, and later that day was visited at his home by 2 Fort Lauderdale police officers who basically gave him a fake eviction from his own business and trespass warning. Steve was able to figure out the ruse and get the names of the police officers, but he was not willing to take it up with Fort Lauderdale Police Department or any other authority. Steve was not willing to provide those names to me either. So, from what I can gather from the grapevine about this Steve, this deli thing, is we all know Charlie was very interested in having cash businesses. So this might be one of his, I don't know, this might be one of his first segues into having a cash business, or his way to get into having a cash business. I don't know if it's money laundering. I don't know any of that. But just all the attention on cash businesses. It's very interesting that Charlie got into this. We're so eager to, basically, it looks like take someone's business away from them. So from what I can gather from the grapevine is that essentially, I think that this Steve person kind of feels like Charlie came in and absorbed, kind of stole the business. And then Charlie made all sorts of accusations and apparently tried to get him to maybe sign some paperwork without reading it, and then sort of, bullying and, scaring him with fake eviction notices, which is just such next level scary stuff that someone would do that. And it's very scary that police officers could do that. I mean, this isn't Mexico. I know it's South Florida, but I mean, the fact that you could just buy police officers like that, that's very scary. But what I can gather is that, there was 2 locations, and, there was one, I don't know where it was, but, maybe, I heard a story. It was somewhere like on, it's in Fort Lauderdale, but the other one, this is the really funny one, is this second location was apparently in the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. So it's just so mind-blowing if you think about it. If this was kind of like Charlie's way to get into the cash business, it's so crazy that he did it. Like, it must have been very exhilarating to him to have been doing that within a courthouse. Charlie had a deli within the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. And I don't know, maybe, his sister's godfather, Peter Weinstein, ate there a lot. I don't know. Maybe I heard that. I can't really remember. I can't state anything as fact that I don't know. But if you just put yourself in that situation, Noshers was the name of the deli. Okay. Here's the good part, and I've alluded to this in some of my videos. Later, I spoke to Clark, who explained that he's the father of Steve. Clark provided additional information on the Adelson family. He stated that he and Harvey were the best of friends. Both were periodontists in South Florida area. Clark also helped start a dental school at Nova Southeastern. As a favor for Harvey, Clark was able to get Charlie in the school, even at the disagreement with other faculty members. As Charlie progressed in the school, he was failing and was not doing his required work in the classes. When Clark brought this up to Charlie, Charlie got defensive and then accused Clark of sexually harassing him while he was at school. Clark was able to disprove the allegations, but this severed the friendship between him and Harvey. Clark explained that Harvey was somehow able to use his influence with the Nova board to include a local judge in Broward County to get Charlie passed through with a degree. Clark explained that Charlie did not meet 25% of his requirements to earn his degree, amongst the allegations that he was somehow just given a degree and has been practicing periodontics with his father ever since. Clark explained that Charlie is manipulative and a pathological liar. Clark explained that this is all occurred around 2006, and that in 2008, he and Harvey had a chance encounter while on vacation. He stated that once Harvey saw him, he immediately approached him and got within inches of his face and nearly touching. Clark stated that Harvey wanted to fight him right there and then on vacation, but Clark was able to walk away from the encounter. But beforehand, Harvey made a statement to the effect of, "No one ever messes with my children." Clark stated that he had known Harvey for over 30 years and grew up with them, going on vacations, parties, business ventures, and he was very friendly and thoughtful. But then he saw nothing but hate and was prepared to do violence despite their history, on the word of his son. Clark also stated that he was aware that Charlie kept cash in shoeboxes in his house and that he makes shady deals with dentists in the area and pockets the money so he doesn't have to report to the IRS. Okay, we're coming to an end. This is an official timeline, which I thought was very interesting and may clear up some of the, the back and forth of, maybe just getting this on record. But I'll read it. In October 2013, Adelson's parents were interested in moving to Tallahasse and in search of purchasing a home in Tallahasse. They are using the realtor Lisa Carey with Hart Realtors. In 10/9/13, Adelson contacts her lawyer, Amanda Wall, in reference to $70,000 that Markel owes and is now past due from their divorce settlement. On 10/15/2013, Adelson receives an email from her mother, Donna Adelson, who expresses anger with Markel for being past due with his settlement payments. On 10/24/13, Adelson makes an offer on a residence in Tallahasse. On 10/24/13, Markel sends Adelson and her lawyer, Kristen Adamson, an email advising they will be receiving a letter in the next few days advising why he will be withholding further payment to Adelson. On 10/31/13, Adelson's lawyer, Kristen Adamson, submits a motion to show cause to the court in reference to Markel not making payments, requests that he be held in contempt of court. On 10/31/13, Adelson sends an email to her realtor advising that she wishes to withdraw from her offer she placed on the house. 12/16/2013, Markel sends Adelson and her lawyer, Amanda Wall, an email which discusses his feelings on grandparental alienation, in which he lists examples of the children telling him negative things the grandmother, Donna Adelson, has said about him. On January 10th, 2014, Donna Adelson replies to an email sent by Adelson and asks if he's ever going to pay the $70,000 owed. She refers to Markel as a bastard. January 30th, 2014, Markel's lawyer sends 3-count court motions and deposes Wendi for the court proceedings. On February 12th, 2014, Markel sends a settlement agreement to Adelson and her lawyer, Kristen Adamson. Adelson denies the settlement. On February 12th, 2014, Adelson forwards Markel's settlement agreement to her mother. On February 14th, 2014, Markel sends an email to Adelson advising that he's aware the children are not at school and states that she's in breach of their agreement. On February 17th, 2014, additional legal documents are sent from Markel to Adelson's lawyer. On February 18th, 2014, Donna Adelson advises Adelson several things that need to be done in court. She states that Markel should undergo psychological testing and refers to him as an asshole. On March 26, 2014, Markel's lawyer sends a motion enforcement of parenting and a request to hold Adelson in contempt of court. Okay, that's it. That's it of the, we've gone an hour. So those were just sort of the tidbits and things I think maybe can help clear up confusion. That's an initial report that's filed. So that's some of the findings, I think, that are coming directly from Tallahasse Police Department, which may clear up some of the questions people have of what they knew and when they knew it and who they spoke with. So now I'm just going to talk with people. I'm going to end this presentation. And write your questions if you have any questions about this or you want to talk about anything. Now it's just kind of the Q&A. There's only not a lot of people here. But I'm going to edit this and put this back up for everybody. Okay, let's see here. Let's see all these. Growing Haynes. I bet the Adelsons were delighted when informed of the initial theory related to the case that he'd worked on. Yeah. It's so crazy because if you were to believe Wendi, she doesn't know. She doesn't know what she testified at the first trial. She didn't even know what the state's theory of the case was. She's a lawyer. Except they never got back in touch with the police to inquire about the investigation. Yeah, that's so weird. It's like they just went on with their lives. And, I guess they really thought that strategy was going to work because they used it within their own family. If you think about what they told Robert Adelson, he said that whenever he, even his own mom, he said that, I think on the podcast, he said that when he talked to her about it, she says, it has nothing to do with us. We feel very bad what happened, but we have nothing to do with it. But there was never any interest in who did it. And, same with, when he tried to contact his sister, her excuse was, well, there's a lot of people that didn't like, that were very upset with Dan. So again, it's just this total lack of interest. And then you can even think of what June said, which was that, Charlie, he barely even talked about it. Never inquired who did it. And it was almost like it was just something that wasn't to be discussed, or it wasn't like a big deal. I mean, think if you had someone within your, like someone murdered and it's a big mystery and it's in the news everywhere and you don't even talk about it to people in your daily lives with like curiosity. That's a huge red flag. Give me a break. That's behavioral. I know it's not objective facts, but it's behavioral. Thank you, Judy. Someone has been asking the call between Donna. Yeah, I know. And I'm trying to go back through, all my files and find it. So I really don't know how to ask, how to find out about that. But I know it was several minutes long. I remember hearing it was like 8 minutes long, because you can hear Donna and Charlie talk about it in the wiretaps, where he talks about how he's got like a recording, he wants June to hear. And that recording was talking about potbelly pigs, and he talks about how Donna recorded an app to actually record her conversation when she called Sammy or the FBI uncover bump, whoever it was. So it was 8 minutes long, and then we heard an excerpt of it, I think on one of the Datelines or 2020s, where she said something like, "I'm sorry, I have nothing to do with the death of my in-laws. I'm sorry that this your friends are in trouble." So I know what they're referring to. I just don't know where that is, because I don't think it's in the wiretaps, or I can't find it, because if you think about it, the wiretaps were warrants. They were phone calls that were only on Katie and Charlie's phone. So because Donna's phone wasn't tapped, I don't have those. And it's got to be somewhere in some sort of evidence dump, but I'm having trouble finding it, and I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. If someone wants to send that to me that's listening. But yeah, I've seen that commenter, and I just don't know how to reply. I'm still looking. I haven't given up. Thank you. Judy says, I vaguely remember hearing about it. Didn't call the agent, called the Allison Institute, and Donna talked to him briefly. Yeah, I think Donna called him because she downloaded an app on her phone to record the conversation, because she calls Charlie back and says, yeah, I recorded. I have a tape to play you. I have it. Next time I see you, I'll play it for you. And he asks how long or something. And it's several minutes long that she goes back and forth, but she holds her ground apparently, and acts oblivious. Okay, next question. Silence isn't golden, right? That's what June said too. They never talked about it, as if he's dead and he was bad to Wendi anyway. So who cares? Exactly. And then she further talked about like how Charlie had told her how Markel had flipped the money situation on her with the house, and using that as an example that he's, so bad and evil. But if we can just what we went over in the police report, it's he owed her $70,000 for the payout of the house. She could see that Donna and them were looking to buy a house, with Wendi or for Wendi in Tallahasse in 2013 with Lisa Carey, the one who called. in her interrogation and told her about the shooting. But so he owed her $70K from the settlement agreement, I think, for the house. He found out that maybe she potentially, I don't know if so, but he alleged that she withheld notifying him about $50,000, and he was just fed up with her behavior and treatment, it sounds like, from his friend Chin, that he was going to use this as kind of like a sticking point to not let her get away with everything. And yeah, and so using that example as like justification for him getting killed and being horrible to Wendi, that's what Charlie was conveying to June. And it's so weird that June didn't even have the courtesy. You're dating somebody and she thinks it's like this perfect, June thinks she's in a perfect relationship. Meanwhile, he's like, knows that he's got heat on him and he's, about to be outed in the media for being connected to this murder. I mean, there's already indications that like people are getting arrested, and he still doesn't have the courtesy to tell his girlfriend, and she gets ambushed in front of his home. It's just like, what? That's just the lack of courtesy for that relationship. But I've got one more little thing I didn't talk about, the pickle. But I'll talk about it now. The pickle. So when, let me finish these comments, then I'll talk about the pickle. That's exactly what I said. The Adelson family is like out of a crime novel, very low life people. Yeah, but with fancy degrees and lots of money. I guess I could email Mental Lawyer, see if he has it on his channel. I don't think he has it on his channel because I haven't seen it, and I know everything that's on his channel. Maybe I missed it, but yeah, I would love to hear it. It's long. It's a long one, she says. Several minutes long. I heard a call somewhere, the FBI agent, but I don't know where I heard it. Yeah, it was on 2020, and she goes, because I remember them doing a little soundbite. She goes, "This is Mrs. Adelson. I'm sorry about your friends, but I don't know your friends." And that's all I've ever heard of it. Profile writer. Robert said that he tried to discuss the murder with Wendi, and she did not want to discuss it with him. Yeah, and he said that he tried to call her at a time, or she called him at a time where he was supposed to be unavailable, and she knew that. And so then when she was surprised to talk to him and then tried to get out of talking with him, he said, "You called me." And she still just didn't want to get in specifics. And if you think of it, it's probably that same kind of behavior that Ruth was feeling, at the Shiva when she was trying to talk with Wendi or just kind of have any kind of interaction with her. The mother of, Dan's sons, and Harvey was hovering and he couldn't do it. There's just a very serious, Wendi can't be compromised, can't be alone, can't discuss it. She's distancing herself. Thank you. She called him at the time that she thought he would not answer. Yep, basically. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna read yours. She also said something to the effect that she did not want to talk to Robert because it seemed as if he only wanted to speculate about who would have Dan murdered. Well, I think that's true, but I think that's how she did it. But I think, Robert might say, someone in my family was murdered. I want to talk about it with my family, but my family won't talk about it with me, which is very weird. Clearly, Wendi had no interest in discussing this. Don't you think that if your ex-husband was murdered, you'd be very interested to know who did it and why? Hell yeah. Do you have an explanation as to why Wendi and Donna's phones weren't tapped? I think because they just didn't have the evidence, the probable cause to get the warrant. And it was Jeremy Mutz who went on camera, who worked not on the case, but is a state's attorney, assistant state attorney. And he said that Meggs was, he heard that Meggs was reluctant even to sign those search warrants or some other warrants. Like there was this real apprehension to even get what they got done. So I think that they were able to go to a judge only with the evidence of probable cause to tap Donna and Charlie. And maybe not, or I don't even know if they, I'm trying to think of what they had on Donna to warrant. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. So I'm not, if there's a lawyer chime in, I'm not saying this, but I'm just speculating, is that they knew they didn't have anything strong. They have the checks at that point, like the handwritten checks to Catherine Magbeno, but I don't know if that would warrant like a 3-month phone tap. I don't know. That's just my guess. Again, a lawyer would have a better take on that. And he told her that she looked bad in the photo taken her, yes, of June, and that he'd take it down. Yeah. But and you can hear that. You can hear that's his MO. That's classic scapegoating. Had a little dance with that in my 20s. But what you can hear that he does the same thing to June, that whenever like his bad behavior, his ego's on edge, he puts it on her, like he did in that gaslighting call that I posted, that wiretap, where June essentially was pushing him on something, and he said, you're making me want to be with other girls. There was like a threat, or there's somewhere to like go and like attack her, and it's the same thing. Yeah, I put you in a terrible situation, but you look bad. And that, just it's so transparent. When my ex-husband got sick, I helped care for him. He passed away. I would give my right arm to have him back. Yep. Life is precious. Did you mean to say she looked unattractive or overly criminal suspicious? Unattractive in the Daily Mail article. Yep. Yes, you're a good person. They have no idea what that means. What a jerk. Cold-hearted murderer, still. I feel bad. So many friends in high places, they thought they wouldn't get caught. Yeah. Okay, so let me tell the pickle story. Okay, so Charlie had bought into this deli called Nosher's that had 2 locations. I think one was a standalone, and one was apparently rumored to be in the. I wasn't there. I didn't eat there, but someone told me this, in the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. And one of the things that Charlie did in his story, how he likes to tell stories and laugh, much like he, that laugh, that little story he told that anonymous woman, that phone call I posted where he said that, if him and June had kids, that they would need to have Velcro shoes. And then he just almost had like a guttural laugh about it. He thought that was really funny, basically saying that his kids with June wouldn't be able to tie their own shoes, or wouldn't have the intelligence to tie their own shoes. Here's a story someone told me, which I found so disturbing, but totally fits within the pattern. Again, I wasn't there, didn't see it, but it's just like a story that Charlie liked to tell and laugh about, is that when he had his deli, he hired and dressed up a mentally challenged adult, and had him dress in a pickle costume, and had him stand outside the deli. And he would laugh about that he would hire someone that was mentally challenged adult to stand in a pickle costume outside of his deli. And he would have a good laugh about that and make fun of that person. He thought that was hilarious. So that's just the kind of guy you're dealing with. But he was amused that he did that. I'm guessing that Wendi and Chuck, the clown brother, have no contact now. I don't know. I don't know if they talked through jail, but they remained close through all of it. June said they only got in one little fight since the murder broke, and it was very short-lived, but she said when she was interviewed by police, that they got one little fight, and the fight was about media coverage. Is that June said that Charlie told her that Wendi didn't talk to Charlie for just a very short period because she thought that the media coverage was reflecting poorly on her. And Charlie told June, well, that's unfair because it reflects on me too. It's just like, what? So their one fight isn't like a serious long-term, did you have anything to do with my, the murder of my kid's father? The media coverage is bad for me, according to June, which is weird because Wendi testified that she never talked to her brother about this murder. So maybe June was making that up. Typical of Chucky. Yeah, I don't know what if the person had Down syndrome or what, but and I'm not even opposed to giving people jobs. That's not it. But he did it because he thought it was funny, someone like that to put in a pickle costume and put out in front of his business, and then he would laugh about it to people at the expense of profile, at the expense of other people. That's an insider story. And the fact that the deli, one of the locations, was inside a courthouse in Fort Lauderdale. It'd be amazing if he was money. He would, if that, you can't We got to get that to a writer's room in Hollywood, because if someone opens up as like mischievous as Charlie opens up like where he can do a cash-based business outside of the courthouse, that's some sick pleasure. I don't know if it's 100% true, but that's what I heard. I'm sure it's easy to look up. Nosher's, his chain deli. Anyway, but yeah, that's right, slime ball. To laugh about it and make fun of that person, that's what I heard that he did. No limits, no conscience. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of guy that, would brag in the hot tub about sexual sadism in front of his little sister. I mean, it just sounds like, I just don't know. I do not know. You have a sister that comes off as like this valedictorian, so prim and proper, lawyer, human rights, victim advocate. And then she's close to this brother that does all this. It just doesn't jive. Yeah, and he'd probably not pay the person the full wages knowing he'd get away. Yeah, some little scam, like just always wanting to get over on somebody. I agree. Match of the egos. Amazing work, Fancy. People talk to me. People like me. I wonder if June would still be with Charlie even if she knew he had Dan murdered. Well, I mean, she said her sister was like, come on, it's obvious. And she said, my whole family tells me that, but I don't know. At this point, if she is had watched Fancy Fiction wiretaps, and she still is like in the headset of like, maybe, then I don't know what can be done at this point, honestly. I don't know what can be done. He's like, I've posted him cheating on her with like 4 or 5 different people at this point, back when she thinks that it was a magical, happy relationship. And what more can I give the girl? I really do want to see her thrive. That would be beautiful. I would want to see that. I want her to thrive. I want her to, I don't know, start a business, become an on-air personality, whatever. I wish her success. I'd love to see her thrive after that. That would be a reward. But she's got to get out of under this guy. She did get back together in 2019, conveniently just in time for the trial of Garcia and Magbanua. Yeah, it's also interesting. There was like some posts on her social media where she posted a picture of her and Charlie by his pool after like the 2019. So it was like, and she promptly took it down. I think it was her Instagram. And Charlie's like shirtless and he has like a vape pen that he's holding in his hand, which I thought was funny. But it was a confirmation, yeah, they're back together. That's how I took it. But it was promptly taken down. We agree that June's a bit of a ditz, yeah. I just don't think she looks both ways when she crosses the road of life, if you know what I'm saying. Like, she cannot get that Charlie is like an awful person, and she still thinks that like that could be a healthy relationship, a successful relationship for her. Even though in 2018, her sister and family had told her that, yes, of course Charlie was involved with Dan's murder, she still forgot him. Yep. I don't know. Did Catherine know for sure that Sigfredo would have no problem being a hitman, or did she convince him with money? Yeah, I don't know. I would love to know how that's one of those things we're never going to know. Even if she talks, we may never know that. Or he talks. 20 years down the road, we'll never know. I mean, but yeah, I mean, she must have turned and be like, so you want to make some money? How? I don't know. Kill someone? You can do it. You got to pay me child support. You owe me money. For a Chanel bag. Yep. Or Louis Vuitton. By the way, were you able to see any real names of all your patrons so you could screen out certain people? No, I can't. There's no way. If someone wants to get in, they'll get in. They'll make a Gmail account. They'll get in. I cannot see any kind of payment information. So people can get in here and can spy if they want. And I know that. That's why I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not saying anything that's true that I don't know. If there's a story that I tell that, I didn't witness firsthand, I say that. So but no, I can't. You can still be anonymous and get here. But, it keeps out people just kind of like coming with no understanding. Like, imagine giving that presentation, having, sitting here trying to engage with people and have a conversation and get into the details, and then have someone come in and like, right, help me and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. And also, I want to learn from people who might know things too. If I say something stupid, I would love if a lawyer came in and said, that's stupid. That's why you shouldn't be saying that. I want to learn too. Profile writer says, I heard on your program that during the first trial, he met her after she testified. What that means. I also hear she flew to Tallahasse with other former employees of the Adelson Clinic this last time. Yeah, I heard she drove up. I heard something about her flying in a pink private plane or something. I'm trying to remember where I saw that. I think it was True Lifestyles, but I don't know anything about that. The only thing I know that I think I heard mentor lawyers say was that he heard that she had traveled up with the Adelson Institute employees, and that when she was asked for an interview by one of the local TV stations, she asked if she would get paid and would do it only if she got paid. Other of how she got up there and whether it was by plane or whatever, I saw some things from True Lifestyles that would indicate from her social media she was giving that impression. But I'm the first person that I know that what people put on social media is not their real lives. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I used to have a friend, and we would go on these vacations together when we would travel together. And the person would come back, and we would be in New York, and we'd be hanging out somewhere, and then I would like check her Instagram, and she would be like extending our vacation that we were at on Instagram because she had over like 10,000 followers and was trying to do this influencer thing. It was just years ago when all this first started happening. And I'd be like, dude, we're not there. Why are you're posting a photo as if like we're still like we've been home for 2 days? She was, yeah, I do that. So it's just like the mindset of like someone on social media. Some people want security. Charlie's money represents. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Judy says she left the court and went into a car driven by Charlie. Plus, posted pics of Louis Vuitton bags that he'd given her. Yep. I think the security and money is the most important thing. The rest is secondary for some. I was once, like back when I was dating in New York City, and I remember I went on this date with this guy who was older than me. He turned to me and goes, what's more important to you? Like love or security? It was like just the creepiest thing. I just like remember it. Like what? This is not like a first date question. I wish I could heart the comments we love. I see so many people I'd love to appreciate. Oh, that's a nice thought. Yeah, I think I heard that from Mentor Lawyer talking about June and how she traveled. That's the comment. Yeah, I loved. Catherine knew she would wind up with money. She kept it in the family. Yeah. It would be great to keep out prying eyes. Yeah, but there's just nothing you can do. If they want to get in, they can get in. He was at the courthouse, so I assume he saw them all walking in together. Judy says. It's very difficult for me to picture Charlie in prison. I just can't imagine him surviving. I see him actually thriving in general population. I see him using his wit and sort of his, this guy has a million side gigs going on. That's one of the things that impressed me the most listening to the wiretaps. He's got a million side gigs, side hustles. He's got businesses. He's got LLCs. He's taking on the go-kart, business and, understanding how many hours are on the battery. He's talking about his boat. He's doing the penny stocks. We just talked about this deli thing. He's doing whatever this legal financing is, not to mention all the cases and patients. And then plus on top of it, all the girls that he's proceeding and doing and keeping straight. It really is remarkable. And he talks about in his disability about how he doesn't have a planner and uses old school. How does he keep all this straight? That's the genius in him. The fact that has the interest and the stamina to do all those things is really quite remarkable. And I actually do respect that. So I think because of that and those skill sets, and I think he will find some sort of scam I don't know, it'll be contraband or something, but he'll have some little thing, he'll have some little business that he starts in jail, and that will give him security, maybe some sort of status, and it makes me think he will do well because of his wits. I'd imagine Wendi as angered to see Danny moving on happy as he entered into that relationship with an intellectual, successful, and beautiful woman. It likely only fueled her hatred of him. Yeah, so this Amy, and she's been kept out of things for a very long time. She was really when you look at her background and her resume, I think like Dan was the Wendi didn't get, I don't believe Wendi got into Yale or Harvard despite applying. I'll just put that out there. Despite maybe her telling people she did. I'll just put that out there as well as maybe, I don't know. But this woman, Amy Adler, was like, just if you put both of their bios next to each other, they really are, she was like the head editor of like the Yale Law, whatever, little college newspaper, whatever. And he was that at Harvard. And they really just, she was this like prominent professor, expert in her field, I think doing like copyright art law or something, I don't know, but on the speaker circuit, really on that level, the echelon that Dan was. And so I think, and then also her brother is very famous, Jonathan Adler. He does like a lot of like home goods. I think he's in Target now, but he was like a very New York centered celebrity. I used to walk, there's in the West Village, he has like a little store, and it's like with one, it's like all the different faces going around. The pod is the one he's, I think, kind of famous for, and bright colors. That's her brother. And then I think, he's gay, and I think he's been in a long-term relationship with a guy who does all the Barney's windows during the holidays and all the decorations, which is also a very sort of New York cult classic thing, is that he does like all the, you walk by like Barney's, or I don't even remember if it's Barney's or Saks, or I don't remember, but whatever, the holidays, it's a big thing. It's a big tourist thing. And he's like the art director, which is like a crazy. So that these two, very prominent, almost like little celebrities, especially more in sort of New York, but that's her brother. So, I mean, there's money, there's prominence, there's everything. So it's just kind of like, if he started getting serious with her, I would see that as a major ego threat to Wendi. And to further on that, where something else I picked up that supports my theory on that is that in her interrogation, when they're discussing Dan's girlfriend, and she's saying about Amy Adler, she immediately goes, she's 50. It was like one of the first things she threw out, and she almost like waited for a reaction from Detective Isom, is how I took it. And it felt like that, much like how you saw her kind of taking digs at Dan on the stand, these passive aggressive, like kind of trying to keep them down. He was someone said was he a great dad? She said, yes, he was a very good father, but not great. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So just, she's 50, immediately threw out, the one thing. She had everything. The one thing that Wendi had on her maybe was youth. And just to be so quick to point that out was very telling to me from a behavioral standpoint. Again, it's an art. It's not a science. These are just my interpretations. Well, stop telling phony people are on Instagram. Yuck. Done with that day. Yeah. It was creepy. It was more creepy. It was more of like, I don't know. I feel like he wouldn't be able to BS the other inmates. He won't be able to bribe them, or can. Yeah. I know nothing about I'm too precious to even try to wrap my mind around what it's like to be in jail. He set up a gig bartering with all the snacks and items he could afford, care package room. But yeah, he would find, he's a scammer through and through. That we know. And I think that will serve him very well in jail if he can use that skill set. Can he access to whatever money he has left? Yeah. I think he has a lot more money than he states. For sure. I guess his family can transfer money to his prison account. Ivy League, you can be a top dog. You have to be a top dog to get a law professor tenure track positions at schools like NYU. Yeah. And she's got like a real cool expertise, which is like, what is art? What is ownership in the art world? Which is it was funny because I was looking at something business related that I do, and I was looking at just a copyright law, and I had to actually contract a copyright lawyer just because I just wanted to do something, and I didn't know what the lines were, and I wanted to show specifically what I was addressing. But I was doing my own research, and I came across her like in this paper. It's like who owns art, and it got a little bit into like, but I just found it very interesting, and I could read it. But she was one of the authors of it, and it got like into sort of diet Prada, and about how a lot of like high like fashion. It's just very interesting. But it's accessible to read to someone who's not a lawyer. But I just thought, oh, it just came across in my own way with her writing. She's seen as a leader as an expert in her field. Again, it blows anything Wendi would be doing out of the water in terms of, again, people that covet positions like that. She was up there, still is. And I believe that I think I saw somewhere or heard somewhere that she was helpful in getting Dan's parents the lawyers that they have, the caliber of lawyers they have, because she's in that world. Yep, yeah. If you go see Jonathan Adler, at Target, he does a lot of stuff, very accessible. But it was very high end for a while, and then he branched out. University of Miami law pales in comparison. Yeah. And I think she did her last law at FSU. I don't know. There's some more. I've heard some stuff about her saying she's got accepted in places that people question whether she did. That's all rumor, and I don't want to get into it without having a little bit more knowledge about that. Never heard of him. That's impressive. Barney's clothes. I know. I have a couple. I still have clothes from Barney's because I would always go to the Barney's warehouse sale every year, and there's like a little store called Barney's Co-op that was right by my house, and so I still have some things that say Barney's like on the tags. I have like a little purse that says Barney's. I'm going to keep them for collector's items. But she's beautiful, not a woman who's turned 50 who can't be beautiful. Wendi babbled on. Yeah, she's very pretty. Amy Adler is a very beautiful woman and smart. She might be younger, but she looks horrible. Well, as long as they are not in jail. Lady B says, oh my gosh, I've been adding comments somewhere else. LOL, I'm still trying to figure this out. Great content. Yeah, me too. So if you're somewhere else, then I feel really bad about that. This is because I'm using YouTube through this like Streams Yard or whatever. And then it's, so this is all a new process for me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to put it back on. So it's just Patreons only. And you can access it whenever you want. And then we can add comments beneath it as well. Yeah, Wendi finished up at law school at FSU Law after getting married to Dan, but her diploma might still have been, university. Yeah, they might have had some sort of reciprocity agreement. Then there was this rumor. I don't want to get too much into rumors about Wendi dating a law professor at University of Miami Law, who also was a partner of and did work on cases with David Oscar Marcus, which makes me think maybe that's how Charlie got that lawyer. I don't know. I wonder why Sigfredo didn't just take the stand for Katie during her second trial and say that she had nothing to do with the murder. Yeah, I mean, me too. And I think that's obviously because they were caught on the jailhouse recordings saying something, or Sigfredo to his mother or to somebody else, or Sigfredo with Katie's lawyer. And which I hope that gets unsealed, because I would really like to see what that was all about. I'm assuming if a lawyer's talking on an open line at jailhouse, they wouldn't say anything that's bad or incriminating that would hurt their career or their integrity. So, and I know that Georgia did say on Surviving the Survivor that she was going to file a motion to release those, but I don't know what was said on those or if that was the bad thing. But for whatever, or I think later it was said by those Katie's lawyers that he decided he didn't want to. He just said no. But they definitely seemed like the prosecution had something in their back pocket that would completely impeach him based on something in those phone calls that they would use. And I don't know if that, but I do know that the lawyers did meet with them. Katie's lawyers, I thought it was reported that they did meet with Sigfredo while in Tallahasse right before the trials. And they did bring him to Tallahasse. He was transferred. So something last minute, whether it be on Sigfredo's side or something else. But I really would love for those Kawas, Garcia jailhouse calls to be unsealed. And even the Sigfredo with his mom or whoever else. I would love for those to be unsealed. I don't know what the holdup is. I was going to ask, the jailhouse recordings, but yeah, I don't know where they are. Okay, I'm 10 minutes over 90 minutes. So if anybody has any last minute questions, comments, I might take this down for a second and then edit it a little bit. And then put it back up. All right. Have a good night. Thanks for being here. Bye. Bye.